they say about me? One thing we know is what was said about Porfirio. What we learned is a different story. My wife and I became fascinated with Rubirosa more than 15 years ago. Isabella is from the Dominican Republic, as was Rubirosa. She first began hearing the stories about him from her father, who grew up in the same town with Rubirosa. Her father also gave her a book about Rubi's life. From the book, Mis Memorias, we read Rubi's own perspective on his life. Over the years, this information led to other revelations about this legendary figure that continued to captivate us both. When we first began chasing Rubirosa ourselves, we decided to try to tell his story in a movie. It was filled with adventure, mystery, and intrigue, all the characteristics of a good film, but there were so many unanswered questions. What was the secret to his legendary lovemaking? Did he use his diplomatic posts as a launching pad to spy for the Dominican Republic and/or other governments and individuals? In other words, was he ultimately a good or a bad guy? Thorough observations provide valuable lessons, insights, and for us, inspiration. The way we looked at it, there is always something to be censured in every man and woman. We can approve their virtues and despise their faults, as we all have both. No one is so good as to only deserve applause, nor as bad as to only deserve criticism. We discovered Rubi deserved both, and received an abundance of both. Because appearances can be deceiving, there will always be those who appear to be philanthropists, who in fact are unscrupulous narcissists. It would be best, we thought, to present the good and the bad for a complete picture. No matter what, Rubirosa was an exciting and intriguing individual who continues to stimulate many people's curiosity. As we learned more about this amazing life, we became more curious about how someone our own government claims is a spy and a murderer could end up partying on the presidential yacht with John Fitzgerald Kennedy and Frank Sinatra. Our questions started an odyssey of inquiries, explorations, and our desire to make a movie led to multiple meetings with the usual Hollywood power brokers who make movie dreams come true. One of our first meetings was with producer Stuart Benjamin, the executive producer of the movie La Bamba, and most recently the Ray Charles biopic, Ray. Among other things, we learned that we were not the only Rubi enthusiasts. Writer-director Ramon Menendez, Stand and Deliver, had written a script on Rubi's life. Stuart patiently helped us through our initiation into the world of movie development. Lesson 1. It takes at least 10 years to become an overnight success. Stuart took our research and Ramon's script to meet with Mark Platt, then president of TriStar Pictures. Unbeknownst to us, biopics, such as TriStar's Bugsy, were dying tragic deaths at the box office, and a Latin-only story would not be an easy sell. In short, a biopic about a Latin character was not the flavor of the month in 1991. For the next 7 years, we heard the same from many other Hollywood executives, which is when we learned lesson number 2. Attach a star to your project. Letters and phone calls to Andy Garcia and Antonio Banderas were returned with a standard no thank you. It seemed that neither Mr. Garcia nor Mr. Banderas were interested in playing the legendary lover. Over the next few years, rumors of various Rubirosa movies became more prevalent, including a Spanish 30-episode telenovela starring Ernest Borgnine as Trujillo, and a Mexican soap star who was rumored to play Rubirosa. While continuing to approach Hollywood leads, we amped up our research on Rubi and assembled over 3,000 pages of articles, stories, letters, and interviews, including his memoirs written in 1955. More importantly, much of Rubirosa's story has been gleaned from FBI files that we obtained through the Freedom of Information Act, documents and facts that heretofore have never been revealed about this intriguing figure. Rather, it implies that Rubi was a rogue political figure, a spy, even an assassin, maybe tied to the mafia, and at various times a friend or a perceived threat to the Eisenhower and Kennedy administrations, depending on which documents you read. Every year after requesting the documents, the FBI wrote us to ask if we still wanted and needed the information. We were told repeatedly about the many other, more important tasks they had before them, and if we didn't want the documents, the agents would be free to go about that more important business. These delays made us even more curious about the Playboy diplomat and caused us to once again increase our investigation. We never relented. It took a full 7 years.